You mentioned earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but it was so powerful, and I bet you everyone at home is like, thank you, Lisa, for asking this question. What's the difference between connection and chemistry? Because you said people may think it's connection, but it could be chemistry.
Yes.
In fact, you talk about the 3 C's. Let's go back to that. Chemistry, compatibility, and connection.
Okay.
Can you break those 3 down and let us know which ones, are they necessary, or all 3 necessary, or only 1 necessary?
Okay, so let's start with compatibility. Compatibility to me is more of a logical approach to, do these 2 people fit together? So it's like, oh, okay, they come from the same background, they like the same things. It's basically on paper, they are compatible, which is why if you go to a dating site, they can match people based off of compatibility. But the reality is that it doesn't always actually work out, all right? Because compatibility is just one layer of it. And I'll be honest with you, it is the least needed layer, all right? Because again, compatibility is also based off of what we've been taught, social constructs of what should fit together. Meaning, if you had, think about if you're in a society that has a class system and you come from the upper class and you meet someone from the lower class. Well, society tells you, you 2 are not compatible. You don't belong together. You're from different classes. But you 2 may experience the most amazing connection ever. And because you're caught up in compatibility and what society says, you will pass on that person. I actually had a woman who, she was dating a guy. I don't remember what her job was, but I know she was high earning woman, very successful. She met a man, I want to say he was a garbage man. I'm not 100% sure, but I know his job was not prestigious, all right? He wasn't broke, but nowhere near making her kind of money. They had an amazing connection, but she said her family would always say, he's not good enough for you. You should not be with this guy. He basically pursued her for 8 months. After 8 months, he finally gave up. After he gave up, she was mad and now saying, oh, he was never serious because he gave up. And I'm like, wait a minute, you made this man.
The poor guy,
try
8
for
months.
exactly 8 months. You have your whole family saying he's not good enough. What do you want this man to do? And at no point did you fully embrace being with him.
Yeah, and let's face it, if it was the other way around and I had a friend that was a woman that was chasing a guy for 8 months, I'd be like, homie, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Like, so I actually, but it's funny how it's sometimes when it's reversed, it doesn't feel like that.
You know, exactly. So, but that's a perfect example of, you know, sometimes compatibility, the way we view it can get in the way. Now, I do believe that there's a level of compatibility that is necessary as far as sharing the same values. All right?
Yes.
We must share the same values. We must want the same things. That to me is a bigger form of compatibility. I think there are some generic, general ones we can use when it comes to compatibility. Because I also believe that being compatible should be about bringing balance to each other. All right? I think that some people make the mistake of looking for their match, looking for someone who's like them. And it's like, yeah, but now there's no balance in the relationship. Like to me, I'm very introverted. So being with another introverted person, I'm not saying that I would completely eliminate that possibility, but to me, it'd be more advantageous to be with someone who's a little more extroverted because it creates a balance in this relationship. A balance when we have other things in place that allow us to respect and value our differences. Because if we don't have connection, which we'll get to in a few, we may see these differences as a clash. But when we have the other foundational pieces, we actually value these differences because they bring out different parts of us. And now we can enjoy that.
Oh my God, that's so good. And can I just tell you, so that I don't know if you know, but that was basically the issue with me and my husband. I come from a very traditional Greek Orthodox family, and my husband's a white boy from Tacoma. And so, you know, when my dad met him, was like, well, he like it can't work. Like he was just like, of course it can't work. Like he's not christened. He doesn't understand our religion. He, you know, doesn't come from England or understand, you know, the Cypriot life. And so he eats chicken nuggets and fries. Like, well, we've got these big Greek dishes that are coming out and he wants fries. And so my dad was like, well, it can never work. And at the time I perceived it to be about me. Like I'm incapable of making it work. And what I realized is to your point, is that sometimes actually it was the fact that we were so different that made us so beautifully like combined, because he allowed me and asked me questions that I'd never considered even thinking through. So he would say, well, why do you believe in God? And, you know, why do you want children? I was like, and then he's just like, I watch porn. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Like, you know, he was like almost like completely going against everything I'd ever thought about what a first date would be, and what I thought was compatible. And I even said I wouldn't have ticked all his boxes. Like a dating app never would have put us together.
Exactly.
They wouldn't have put on us together.
That's what I'm saying. And that's why I say compatibility is a more logical, on paper approach, but it's shaped by people's personal perceptions. Because what one person will say can be compatible, the next person might say differently. You know, and of course these dating apps use all kinds of scientific studies, but still they're shaping it based off certain references they have, but it doesn't tell the whole story. So chemistry, I would say, is a step up. Because now where compatibility is on paper and you can determine if people determine compatibility even just by looking at certain qualities that have been listed. Chemistry requires two people actually mixing together, so to speak. You can't determine chemistry unless you guys actually engage and interact, right? And the thing with chemistry is that it is definitely an important piece of the puzzle. However, we have to understand that one, chemistry is in greater abundance than connection, which we'll talk about. Because think about it, if you are a social person who has a great personality, you can have chemistry with a lot of people. It's not rare to come across a bunch of people you feel chemistry with because you know how to get along. You know how to fit with people. Chemistry is how we flow together, how we're able to engage with each other, all these different things. As well as the fact that chemistry can be created. And I always use the example of sports or corporations. We have team building exercises to build chemistry. We can put together 5 players on a basketball team who've never played together, and in time they can learn to have chemistry. So you can create it and you can destroy it. Because the minute that someone wants to go off that path, chemistry is done. You can have 2 people who get along so well, but if this man or woman changes certain aspects about themselves, that chemistry can go away immediately. Or if they were presenting a false representative of themselves, you built chemistry based on the false representative. Now when the true self comes, chemistry gone, all right? Because again, it's a very fluid thing. It can come, it can go, you can get it back, you can lose it, all these things. And so a lot of women, they'll meet a guy, and one example I wanna use, because I just come across it a lot and I find it very funny, is when people claim they have sexual chemistry with someone they haven't had sex with. Okay? And
I'm like so trying to process that right now. What does
think
that
about that? Chemistry requires the two to actually engage and mix. How can you claim sexual chemistry without sex? What you're experiencing is attraction and maybe horniness happening all at the same time.
Isn't that just being horny?
Yes, that's what it is. It's like we're both attracted, we're both a little horny, and we're both receptive to it. So this energy that we're feeling right now, we label it chemistry. But there are people who felt that, went into the bedroom, and it was trash, all right? Because it was never chemistry, okay? So we have this habit of mislabeling things and misinterpreting things and using this whole chemistry as validation for why we should move forward. No, there's more to it than that. So again, with chemistry, it's something that is more abundant and, like I said, can be built, can be destroyed, and you need it. You need it. So I don't discredit it as much as I would compatibility, but it is it's misused in a lot of situations, which now brings us to connection. Connection to me is the biggest piece of the puzzle. And when there is connection, there will be chemistry, all right? Compatibility, there's an argument there because again, what looks good on paper, because look at you and your husband. You guys could have chemistry and connection, but people would say, but you guys weren't compatible. So that doesn't have to be there. But chemistry, you guys, I'm sure, still had the chemistry, had the connection.
And we work on that chemistry even to this day after
Exactly.
22 years later.
But here's the thing. Connection is the glue that holds it all together. So people's ability to work through things are severely hindered when there is not a connection there, all right? There isn't that deeper draw to each other. And what I believe on a spiritual level is your spirit recognizing its match. Because they say spiritually things happen in the spirit realm before they happen in our world, so to speak. So it's almost like the spirit already knows this is who I'm supposed to be with. The spirit already knows this is who I can connect with or whatever the case may be. We, in our human form, however you want to phrase it, we just have to come to an acceptance of it. You see, people experience connection, but they struggle to accept the connection. Connection is also much more rare. If you were to survey people and ask them how many times have you experienced this deeper connection, at most you might hear it's 2 times. And there's other theories I have as to why it's so rare. One, I think it's just rare because it's not meant for, if we look at it again from a spiritual assignment type of perception, we're not assigned to everybody. We cannot be with just anybody. And some people will think you can just, I'm gonna speak on this real quick from a very Christian perspective, but I know that this doesn't apply to everyone. Everyone has different beliefs. But even if you look at it from biblical perspectives, everyone did not come from the same tribe, so to speak. All right. And you were told, you can't be with someone outside the tribe. They will pull you away from God. They will pull you into their gods. All right. So let's just say every tribe has that belief system that, hey, you have to deal with the people within this circle, because outside of that, it will pull you outside and now compromise where you're supposed to be. So no matter how you want to apply that, it just speaks to the fact that you can't just pick and choose who you want and say we're going to make it work. And even if we take away spirituality for a second, I believe that we're all wired a certain way. Life isn't about making something of yourself or becoming who you want to be. It's discovering who you are and then bringing it to its fullest potential. All right. Like, you ever see, like, there's kids who, I've met so many adults where they're unhappy in their work life. And when you really dig deep into their lives, what they really want to do as an adult was something that they loved as a child.
Yeah.
It was always there.
Yeah.
All right. Unfortunately, though, society derails kids and says, no, you can't do this. This won't make enough money, or this isn't prestigious enough, or this or that. And so people go in a completely different direction. And then what happens is, by the time you become an adult and you can make your own decisions, or you've gone so deep down the path of building whatever life that society, parents, whoever told you to, that now it's too scary to go in the direction that you're really called to go into. And instead you stay where you're at because it's easier. All right. Same thing happens in relationships, I have to mention. Some people have gone so far off the path relationship wise, maybe in the wrong relationship, that now even when they come across that person they have a connection with, it's too scary to now go over there. It's too scary to have to uproot your family, maybe if you have kids. And it's understandable, but this is what's happening to so many people. So going back to connection, again, I believe on a deeper level is our spirit. It's who we are assigned to, so to speak. And it's the glue, because whatever that draw is, it gives us that extra motivation, that extra strength to want to work through things. So I look at it like this. Like, one of the things I always say is, going back to sex, the key to great, long-lasting sex is connection. All right. There's a lot of people who will think, well, no, I have to test drive before I get married or whatever, because I gotta know what I'm getting myself into. And those same people can tell you stories of how the sex was great in the beginning and then it went away. And you ask why? Like, his thing didn't change. It's the same thing it was before, all right? She's not much different than she was before. What has changed here? Well, one of the things that's changed is motivation to please you. Because initially my motivation was to impress you. My motivation was to get you, to lure you in, so I did everything I could to please you. But if at my core, I don't like who you are, I'm not in love with who you are, I'm not going to be as motivated to keep pouring into you. I believe a lot of people become narcissists in their relationship. They were not narcissistic in the beginning, which is why you didn't see it the way that you see it now. All right? Because sometimes what happens is, if you have, I'll give an example. You have two people that get together. They're not truly in love, but they become attached for various reasons. And initially, because they're trying to make it work and it's fresh, it's new, or they're just happy to have someone, they go all out, right? But again, because there's not a connection, because they're not really in love with each other, at some point they start to get more lackadaisical. They start to slack off, all right? They're not pouring into you the same way. They're not caring about your feelings the way they should. So now, whoever is getting the short end of the stick, or the shorter end of the stick, it is very possible for them, or it can happen on either side, to now say, okay, I'm gonna look out for me. Now it's all about me, because I'm not getting what I need from my partner, so I'm gonna make this all about me. Entering the narcissism, you see? But it's all stems from because you guys weren't really into each other. because you guys didn't have the connection, because true love did not exist here. And that's why when people will say, oh, you know, the quote that says love conquers all, and people say, well, love didn't win here. No, love never existed there. You guys were driven by something completely other than love. You just slapped a label on love on it and thought that would make it work. No, you weren't being honest with yourselves about why are you really here? Why are you holding on to this person? Some of you are holding on because you're afraid to be alone, not because you love them. Some of you are holding on because your parents pressured you saying, you're getting older, when you're gonna have babies, when you're gonna get married. And that got in your head. And so you forced the issue with a man that you don't really love like that.
If you want to learn the big, massive signs that he's wasting your time and just using you, then click here right now. Stefan, welcome to Women of Impact.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, I'm so excited to talk to you today because you know me, I'm all about empowering women, especially when it comes to